What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with an updated Rikka Sunavalon deck profile post Legacy of Destruction. And yeah, this deck is featuring a few different engines. Obviously you have Rikka and Sunavalon, and then of course we have Aroma Lilith, which I didn't actually get to play with the updated Aroma cards in Phantom Nightmare because I wasn't really messing around with Rikka during that time. But now finally, post Legacy of Destruction, I'm testing the Phantom Nightmare support we got in the Aroma package. And Legacy of Destruction did come with plant support in Ragnaraika, which I know a lot of people are going to be talking about, and sort of wondering how I'm incorporating it into either certain lists I'm playing, like Trap Tricks or Rikka. And this list is on a Ragnaraika card. It is featured in the extra deck, however, I'm not main decking that package. This list is more akin to my regional top 8 list back when Power of the Elements first came out and we got Rikka Princess. In fact, I'm using the mat that I won with Rikka back then. So yeah, it's a 40 card list, not featuring many bricks. So there are a bunch of like 50 plus card piles you can play with plants. If you're looking for that, this profile is a little bit different because it is more of the, I don't want to say mid-range because it's still very combo and your board still essentially looks like an FTK, but it's on 40 cards and not running a bunch of crazy bricks. So this list is going to be a lot like my regional topping list, so I'm going to be showcasing that sort of as an updated version. Before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know we're extremely close to 15,000 subscribers, so if you do like Yu-Gi-Oh content, you like what you see here, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, what I do here on the channel. And of course, if you like Rikka, you're going to want to be subscribed for future Rikka content, or you know, Sunavalon or Aroma or whatever package you like. There's a bunch of different ways you can play plant.pile at this point, essentially. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into this Rikka deck profile. Alright, so starting off, I'm actually going to start off with the Aroma cards. I am playing 3 Aroma Lilith Rosalina. This card is one of the best starters for the deck, and it's something that obviously we didn't have back in Power of the Elements when I first played this deck. Rosalina is probably one of the best starters plants have at this point. She just does so much on her own, and she can get you to one card like Sunavalon combo. And she just does a lot for starting your plant combos in general, and I'm running her at 3. One issue Rikka has always had is just playing too many normal summons, which is something like the decks with more cards in them have sort of mitigated. Like you see less normal summons if you're running like 60 cards in your deck. However, one thing about Rosalina that I like, and I'm fine playing 3 of her even if she adds to the normal summon count, is that she's actually useful in hand, essentially turning herself into reinforcements of the army for plants if you have Jasmine face up on your field. So that can be useful, so she can repurpose herself if you decide to use a different normal summon or just draw multiple normal summons opening hand. So yeah, I'm on 3 Rosalina. The other Aroma cards I am playing with her is the 1 Angelica and the 1 Laurel. So these 2 are sort of mandatory for the Aroma package. You usually special Laurel off of your Rosalina, unless of course she gets hand trapped, because this is the only non-tuner Aroma monster in the deck. And then Angelica is usually what I search with the Link 3 Aroma monster. So yeah, if you're going to play this package, you can actually play a larger package with the Humid Winds and like the spell, I think it's called Blend. This is just a 5 card Aroma package for me. Again, this is a 40 card list, minimizing all the bricks I can possibly minimize. And in fact, Laurel used to be kind of like a brick, but you know, with Healer and Dryas, oftentimes you can make Laurel an extender. So yeah, both of these cards I feel are mandatory if you're running the Aroma package. On to the Rikka engine, which is like the largest engine of the deck. We have the 1 Rikka Petal, which this looks kind of wild. You know, running 1 Petal seems a little silly. I used to run 3 of this in my regional topping list back in the day, but obviously Jasmine I think is a better starter than Petal in most instances because she just does everything. One good thing about Petal is if she gets interrupted like by a hand trap and you have the field spell, you're able to keep extending that way, which is something Petal has as a starter that none of your other starters can really do. But you can always get access to this card, and running 1 is very important because it means that your Glamour can search Petal plus a different level 1, of which you run a lot. Then I'm on 3 Rikka Princess, one of the best cards in the Rikka package by far. Still, one of the best things about Princess is the fact that she is just a generic level 4 plant extender, which is really good. Helps you play around interrupts quite a bit. And most importantly, she is a monster negate from the graveyard or hand, and that's always been one of Rikka's strongest points, because it means just like using her as an extender is going to put an interrupt in your graveyard, which is amazing. Her being level 4 is obviously great for Strenna. And yeah, just providing resiliency to hand traps going first, and then also adding to your end board, making you really resilient to certain board breakers by having Princess in graveyard. It's always been a really strong part of the Rikka engine, and I'm maximizing her at 3. With the princesses, I am running the 1 Primula. This is pretty standard. I've liked 2 in the past, but again, keeping this a 40 card list, trying to run as many live cards as possible. Primula by herself is pretty terrible. In fact, she would just be another normal summon to add to the normal summon count. 90% of the time she's an extender, and you just want 1 Primula on the deck so you can search Princess and Primula to get rank 4 access that way. It's like one of the very standard and common Rikka combos. Next, I'm on 2 Mudon, which I love playing 3 of this card, but I just couldn't find the space in this list. Again, feel free to go over 40. You don't have to play 40 cards in Rikka. In fact, again, there's a lot of lists you could probably find on YouTube that are running more cards than 40, because a lot of people enjoy running like the even crazier end boards by running a few bricks, and that's like totally fine. This list is on 2 Mudon. The reason I like 3 is because she's just a very solid extender through interrupts, because as long as you get to your field spell, the deck is operating at least at a winnable capacity. And then Mudon also is like a go second card if you have field spell, because you contribute their stuff, and that makes field spell just an insane card. And then 1 Snowdrop. This is extremely mandatory, at least as a 1-of, because it just gets other normal summons out of your hand, which is very powerful. Super good extender. But you only want to play 1 because you need to have another plant with her. So obviously she can be very bricky in multiple copies. Next, I'm on 3 Konkon and 1 Terraforming. So essentially 4 copies of Field Spell, and there's a couple reasons for this. One of the biggest, in my opinion, is the fact that Ghost Ogre is back in the format, and just having multiple Konkon going first is like not horrible, because if one gets Ghost Ogre, you can just activate another, which feels pretty nice. But that's sort of the only reason to have multiple going first. Otherwise, you really don't want to run that many of this card, and you could definitely omit the Terraforming. But what makes Terraforming and the Konkon really good is going second, this card baits interrupts by itself, which means you have Engine that is a superb board breaker, because you could have like a full Fire King Snake Eye board or a pure Snake Eye board, right? If they have Appaloosa and they have the whole setup with IP in the back row, just activating this card is going to force a lot. Like, you are going to force probably bring back IP with Flamberge, and then make IP and Flamberge or a different card they control into SP to banish the Konkon, because if they don't do that, they're just losing their Appaloosa to Mudon or Glamour. So just having this card is amazing going second, and it usually forces interrupts just activating it. And then also, even if you draw multiple of it going second and they don't do anything to it, the tribute effect is a soft once per turn. So you can activate 1, tribute their stuff, and then activate a different Konkon and tribute their stuff again. So this card in multiples is pretty good going second for sure. Going first, it's a little sketchy, but I think it's relevant because Ghost Ogre is pretty relevant in the current format. I've seen a lot of people switch to Ghost Ogre, so yeah, post LEDE, I think 4 of this card makes total sense. Then I'm on 3 Rikka Glamour. Glamour is just the Rota for the deck, and also is a amazing go second card if you have the field spell. It's a Rota that can search 2, and that is obviously insane, and the tributing is usually a benefit to you. So obviously we're going to maximize 3 Rota. Then we have Rikka Sheet. This card is just immensely powerful in combination with your field spell. It's one of the payoffs for the Rikka engine and what you're trying to end on, besides like your slew of monsters on board. Alright, that is it for the Rikka part of the deck. Then we have the Sun Avalon package. We have 2 Loci, I don't know how to pronounce this guy. I'm only on 2 because we're actually running way more copies in the form of Unexpected Die. And you would rather open Unexpected Die 2 Loci like every day of the week, because obviously you have just too many normal summons. You have the 3 Rosalina, you have the Petal, which is 4 normal summons, you have 2 of this, which is 6 normal summons. And we're, spoiler alert, we're running a Lone Fire Blossom, which is 7 normal summons. That's a lot. You usually want to shoot for 4 or 5, I think. But we do have the 3 Unexpected Die to search this out, and I think minimum you need 2 of this card, so that's what I'm playing, even though he's one of the best starters. Then we have 1 Sunseed Twin, which is a mandatory part of the Sun Avalon package, because it's the best target to summon off Sowing. And we have 1 Lone Fire Blossom, which I'm considering this part of the Sun Avalon package, because honestly, if we weren't trying to go for Loci combo, I wouldn't run this card. But this card's really important to get monsters out of the EMZ, so that you can like special Loci and then make Dryas and do the whole combo that way. And that's how Rosalina actually gets to combo. You sort of need the Lone Fire to do it. Of course, there's other ways, like if you have Mudon or Snowdrop access, you contribute the EMZ monster with that. But yeah, overall, Lone Fire is really important for that. And it just gives you access to another plant. And it's really good with, what is the name of that card? Dance Peony. Yes, this card's really good with Dance Peony as well, because it helps get around the restriction that they can't be used for material. 1 Sunvine Sowing, because this is what you search off Dryas. It's just a mandatory brick of the package. Although it's not really a brick, that was a terrible word. Engine Requirement is the better word, because this card is just a plant at the end of the day, so you can extend with it. Obviously you don't want to do that, but you can also take just about, like if you hard open this, you can take any plant just about, and then make Dryas, and then you're like fine having drawn this, even if it wasn't made, with your Sun Avalon monster, or I guess Sunseed monster, I should say. 3 Unexpected Die. This is actually the best card in the package, because you don't want to draw Loci, like I said. You would rather just activate Unexpected Die and without your normal summon do full combo because that's insane, and also is really good going second. So a lot of engine, we're playing a lot of engine in this deck. I believe it's 30 engine cards, but a lot of that engine is really good going second. Like Unexpected Die is just a solid extender that's fine going second because it forces interrupts before your normal summon. You obviously have the 4 field spell that are essentially go second cards. Unexpected Die, just absolutely insane, and if they ever ash it and you have multiples, you just punish them very hard because it's not once per turn. Then we have a 1-for-1. You just have so many powerful level 1s in this deck. Even if you have access to Rosalina or Petal or Loci, this just gets you access to the piece you're missing, which is really strong. Just having so many different level 1 starters, I think this card is a mandatory inclusion. And then also can get rid of the extra normal summons in your hand to turn the normal summons in your deck into actual extenders. So 1-for-1 is a very powerful card. You know, I'm noticing a pattern. This deck is running 1-for-1. It has a bunch of level 1 starters and sets up like an FTK board going first. This is actually just looking like Snake Eye Jr., I'm not gonna lie. On to the non-engine, of which I believe there is 10, which is not the biggest amount, and I'm not actually playing a lot of hand traps. I'm more taking a board breaker approach because it goes well with the, just like the Rikka engine as well, like with the field spell to help board break going second. And it means I'll never play into talents, which is also pretty nice. And I think if you play hand traps, you're gonna want a lot of them, and I don't have that much non-engine, so just playing some board breakers. That being said, Imperm is a hand trap that is also a board breaker, so we're definitely going to maximize 3 of this card. Just one of the best hand traps of all time, behind maybe Ash and, Nib. 3 Forbidden Droplets. This deck has a lot of 1-card combos, so you can very easily spend some cards to break your opponent's entire board. Droplets is fine going first and second, which is really strong. Same as Imperm. Having cards that are good going first and second as board breakers is always nice because it means you're not running cards like Evenly or Dark Ruler that don't do anything going first. Droplets is also pretty powerful this format, getting rid of things like Appaloosa and dealing with the Voiceless Voice end board and making sure you don't get puppet locked by Branded. It's just overall a really strong card. And then 3 Talents, another card that's good going first and second. So this card also got a lot better post Legacy of Destruction. I used to feel really weird playing this card because oftentimes you would take your opponent's monster and you really couldn't do anything with it. Yes, you could set it up to where you could tribute it with a Jasmine, but that meant you had to get rid of the monster pretty early, and if it's something like Appaloosa, that would feel kind of bad because you want to keep that on your side of the field. But yeah, this card got infinitely better post Legacy Destruction. I'll explain that when we get to the extra deck. And then Called by the Grave. This card is just a board breaker, this format, because of Princess for the most part. It's also really good into Voiceless in certain situations, especially if they're playing risky with Dynamondo or doing weird plays to tribute their low early, sometimes with a Blessing, and you can get them there. But then yeah, obviously this card is amazing going first, and you can set it going first as well to be an interrupt going second. All the board breakers are good going first and second in this deck, which is really strong. And yeah, that's the 40 card main deck, just running almost 0 bricks. Like you could maybe count Laurel and like Sheet and like the Sunseed Twin, but other than that, it's just 40 very consistent cards, do combo, none of the super fancy stuff, because even with this list, you're ending with like 5 or 6 interrupts going first, and you should just instantly win the game, bar a card like Evenly Matched. So on to the extra deck, which is where the support from Legacy of Destruction comes in, but I also haven't done a Rikka profile since the ban list that put Dryas and the Healer at 1. Obviously, we're playing both of these because you need them for your Sunseed combo. Healer being at 1 is really unfortunate because this is how you used to proc your additional Dryas and sometimes your Jasmine, or very often, if you watch my old combo video, it's how you proc Jasmine. But the Aroma cards kind of fix that because now you can gain life points in a bunch of different ways and make Jasmine even better than she already was. So yeah, even though these got hit, the plant support has made that irrelevant. In fact, this was never really too big of a hit to begin with. There were still ways to play around it. But yeah, obviously you're going to play 1 in 1 of each of these. And obviously the Healer also gives you a way to gain life points, which is very powerful. Then for Link 2s, we are on 2 Jasmine. I think you can play 3 of this if you have space. I could make space if possible, although I don't think the 3rd Jasmine would be necessarily better than the cards I'm running. I'm just on 2. I also don't own a 3rd, so that's not even a possibility. But yeah, just 2 Jasmine. You're going to run through 2 every first turn, because every first turn you don't draw unplayable. So yeah, that's the goal. You're going to go through at least 2 Jasmine. Then the Legacy of Destruction support comes in the form of Ragnaraika Skeletal Soldier. This card is a new card from Legacy of Destruction, and essentially what it does is almost irrelevant for this deck because the real thing it does is the fact that the first line says 2 monsters including an insect, plant, or reptile monster, which means you can use a monster that isn't those as long as one of your materials meets that requirement. Which means finally you can take things like Nibiru tokens, monsters stolen with triple tactics talents, certain kaijus, cards that were actually horrible for Rikka to deal with and stopped Petal from coming back and things like that. You can turn them into a plant. When Verte was banned, every time I built this deck, I just wanted Verte to be legal, not to send a fusion, but just have a plant I could make that was pseudo-generic. Well, in the case of Verte, very generic. This finally brings that into the forefront. The only bad thing about this card is it's a fire, which means it can be heated, and it's a link 2, and that's very dangerous. But one cool thing about this card is that it can come back from graveyard, which means you can get another link 2 extender on your follow-up turn. Overall, it's a very strong card, and I think it does help Rikka a lot. Even though I'm not running any of the other Ragnaraika cards, this card is definitely an imperative one of, in my opinion. Then we have one Dance Peony, our Verte Anaconda, and I call it that because this card is almost always you get hand trapped to death by 2 or 3 hand traps and you have no other route except Dance Peony, and then she can just win you the game out of nowhere. It's really silly. She's always been just a fantastic card. And your really bad hands, like your really horrible hands, you can also just funnel into this and hope you hit something good. That's come up. But yeah, one Dance Peony. Then I have one Rosemary. This card is also a new Aroma card that I hadn't got to play with yet, but it is very powerful because it searches your Angelica and then continues combo. I end up making this a lot in some of my current going first lines. I think there's a bunch of different ways you can go first in Rikka, and there's a bunch of different combos. I end up going for this card a lot. I think it's really strong. Then of course we have the Malias that you have to play so that you can very easily link up into your Bangalancer. I'm on 2 of this card, which is really weird. You can definitely take out the second one to play either another plant Xyz that you can summon off Strenna, or maybe the 3rd Jasmine. But this card fixes one of the issues that I have with Rikka and always have, is that you use almost your entire extra deck turn 1, and the follow-up, if your board does get cracked, is very weak. You get the one Bangalancer who gets banished, and that can be rough. If they have any out, it's tough. But especially with the new Ragnaraika card, you're gonna want maybe a second Bangalancer to keep climbing into additional power plays. And Bangalancer is just one of your best board breakers and interrupt. He's very strong. He just presents a lot of follow-up. So I'm on 2 for now. The life point subtraction used to be a little problematic. It's less bad now just because you have so many ways to gain life points with the Aroma cards that you can use this once or twice and still be pretty close to 8,000 depending on how much you've gained with Rosalina. But yeah, 2 Bangalancer, which might seem a little odd. A lot of people are on 1. I'm on 2, but feel free to take out the second one for anything else you'd rather play. Just personally, maybe I'd add an All-Say, which I'm currently not playing, but I do like the 2 Bangalancer. 3 Strenna, again, 3 of this seems like a lot. I'm on 3 because for the same reason with Bangalancers, I feel like this deck's only weakness, because it's not going first and it's really not going second, the weakness is follow-up if your board does happen to get broke, or you didn't open amazing, so your board wasn't that strong to begin with. So yeah, 3 Strenna kind of fixes that problem. She's a very powerful card, and I'm totally fine playing 3 of her. And if you play 2, cards like Kashtira Unicorn become extra scary. Then we have the Hyperion and the Queen. Both cards you're going to be summoning off your Strenna most of the time. And because you're on 3 Strenna and only 2 of these, if one of them goes to grave, you can definitely just add it back with Strenna. And then make it again, or if one of these is summoned properly, which is only going to be the Teardrop, then you can keep bringing this back from grave with Strenna, which is interesting. But yeah, both of these are fantastic end board pieces, and you definitely want to play at least these, but I think you can also play an All-Say, which gives you a pretty good out to spells and trap cards. But I think the new Aroma Aroma Lilith Rosemary gives you a good out to spells and trap cards as well. So yeah, overall, you can do what you want with your extra deck with the second Bangalancer and maybe the 3rd Strenna. And yeah, that's going to be it for the Rikka deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave down below what you think of the deck and how you're running it, other cards you're playing. Are you running the 60 card version, the 50 card version? There's so many different plant piles. If you're playing Ragnaraika, how are you liking it with this deck? Because I know some people are doing that. Or if you're interested in the 40 card list, feel free to leave comments down below. I'll get back and sort of explain my thoughts. I'm a little rusty with the deck. I've been doing some combos and playing some games, but I'm not as practiced with this deck as I was when I got this regional map back in Power of the Elements format. But yeah, hopefully I can get more attuned with the updated list, and maybe take it to an event and see how I do. But with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.